This is a 1 Bitcoin bill. Unfortunately, it is not worth 1 Bitcoin. It is actually worth nothing. This is make-believe money that I bought because I thought it was pretty. Now, hopefully, the money you make as an English teacher is actually going to be worth something. But in order to make money, you have to actually charge your students money. Now, how do you do that? How do you charge your students correctly? Not too little, not too much. Let's talk about that. The first thing you need to understand is that everywhere in the world, people are going to have different purchasing power. Now, what is purchasing power? It's how much your money can buy. Okay? Now, in some places of the world, sometimes inside the same country, there are going to be different regions where your money is worth less or more. For example, if you have $100 in New York, that is not gonna be a lot of money. There aren't so many things you can buy with $100 in New York because everything there is super expensive. Now, the same $100 is gonna make you live a whole month like a king in Thailand because in Thailand, $100 for them is worth a lot because they're poorer. So that is purchasing power. The same $100 can buy different things, different amounts of things in different places. Everywhere in the world is different. So in order to actually charge your students correctly, you have to be a little mindful of the purchasing power of your country. More than that, your region. More than that, your city. I, for one, live in Brazil, a poor country, a third world country, and over here people have low purchasing power. So I cannot charge the same a language teacher would charge if they live in Austria, for example. So you have to have that in mind. Now, how do you figure out how much you can charge? What is the minimum as a language teacher that you can charge where you live? There's a very easy way to actually figure that out. You're gonna go to language schools near you and you're gonna ask them, how much do you charge your students and how much do you pay your teachers? You're gonna ask them these two questions. And then you're gonna take notes of the answers for 3 or 4 language schools near you if you have that many. Then you're gonna have 2 pieces of important information. First, how much schools are getting paid and how much the teacher is getting paid. Inside a language school, a language teacher is always going to make less money than they can make as a solo teacher. That is because a language school is a business, and as such, they are going to have other bills they need to pay besides the language teacher's salary. So they're going to have to pay their power bill, their water bill, they're going to have to pay for the computers they buy, the material they buy, the cleaning lady, and of course, the owner of the school needs to get their share as well. After all, they're the guy who had the idea in the first place. He's the guy who's taking all that risk. So of course, he's going to get his money as well. It's only fair. And so when the language teacher gets paid inside the language school, he's the last guy who's going to get that money. And so he's going to get like 30%, if that, from what the student originally pays. So for instance, if the student pays $100 a month to the language school, the teacher is going to get $30 for that specific student. And I know that might sound a little unfair, but it's not. That's how things work, and it is fair if you stop and think about it. Now, I know that the money you make in language schools is low, but language schools, as I said in another video that you should watch, by the way, on how to get students, because you need students before you can charge them, right? Language schools are an excellent place to actually gather experience. So that is extremely necessary. Experience. If you're a beginner language teacher, do not choose. Just grab the first opportunity you have in front of you and teach. In my case, back in 2016, I had to start teaching for like $4 an hour. I know that sounds very little if you live in a first world country, but remember that Brazil is a poor country, okay? And our currency here, the real, unfortunately, is shit. Our currency fucking sucks, and we have to deal with it. So in the time, I used to get $4 an hour. Now, after I spent some time in the school, and that is actually what happens after you spend some time working in the same place for a long time. After 1 year, I got a bump in pay to $6 an hour. I know it doesn't sound like much, but for me it was a 50% increase. That was amazing money for me. And at 18, 19 years old, all I needed was money. The amount didn't really matter. I just wanted to make some money somehow. Then in 2019, I actually got a nice job at a big franchise English school here in my state. And over there, I started getting paid $10 an hour. I know that if you live in the US, that is still very little. That is like a summer job for 16-year-old teenagers. But here in Brazil, this is more than double the minimum salary. It is crazy. The third world is the third world for a reason. But I'm not complaining. That is how things are. And I'm actually pretty happy here in my country. I don't plan on moving so early. Then, when I became a solo English teacher, I had to make some calculations because now, when I was working in the school, I wasn't charging students. The school was. And the students were not paying me. I was getting paid by the school. But when you start teaching outside of a school, when it's just you and the student, you have to do all that. You have to charge, and they are going to pay you directly. So I made a calculation, and I'm going to explain what was the calculation I made to start. Okay? I'm gonna say the values in reais, okay? My currency here in Brazil, just so I don't have to make conversions in my mind, okay? But my excellent editor, Ivan, is going to put the prices in dollars here for you. So let's go. The school would pay me 30 reais in 2019. That was the nice school I worked at. 30 reais in 2019. Now, I was going to teach a student by myself for 4 classes a month. So if I charge 30 reais for 4 classes a month, that is going to be 120 reais a month. That is very little. But I knew that the student paid the school 360 reais. But remember, the school didn't pay me all that because the school has all those other bills I have to pay. So what I did was, I started charging my students 60 reais an hour, double what I made in the English school. However, for the student, that would mean 240 reais a month. That was still 50% cheaper than they would pay the school. I was making more money than I did at the school, and the student was paying cheaper than they were paying at the school. It was a win-win situation for both of us. It was fantastic. And then I started getting many students this way. Students that used to study their English at that school. Some of them came to have classes with me because they got the same teacher for a lower price, and I got double the money. It was a superb deal for me, especially in 2021 after all the pandemic stuff. That really helped me get back on my feet, you know. Now I charge more than that. Nowadays I charge $20 an hour, right? I am an expensive teacher for Brazil standards. I know that in Europe I'm like borderline expensive. I'm not in the expensive area yet. The expensive teacher in Europe is gonna be what, $30 an hour, like 27 euro, 25 euro, something like that. So in the United States, I actually have no idea how expensive language teachers are in the United States. If you do know that, please tell me here in the comments. I'm very curious on learning that. And so you can do that in the same way I did where you live. Remember, figure out how much an English school pays the teacher, how much the students pay the English school, and then you can make that same calculation. So you can end up making double what you make in an English school by yourself, having direct contact with the students. Of course, with more money comes more responsibility. You are responsible for taking care of the students. You are responsible for charging them every month. You are responsible for making sure they actually pay. You are responsible for making sure they learn. You are responsible for getting your own clients. So it is double the money, which is great. It's nice. But it is more than double the responsibility and work. For me, it is fucking worth it. I like it. I like it very much, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't see myself teaching in English schools again, language schools in general. Now you have it. Now you know how you can figure out how much you can charge your students. Remember, go to the English school, figure out their payments and charging over there, and then you apply that to yourself, to your solo teaching. Okay, I hope this video was of help to you. I'm gonna make future videos on how to increase prices to students, on when to increase prices, how much you can increase prices, what happens when you increase prices, do you get more or less students? In my case, I got more, and I can't explain how. You just have to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the video when I upload it. And you can actually watch my other videos too on how to get students, like I mentioned. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like that. And that's it. Let's make a living out of language. I hope this was helpful to you. I certainly liked making it. See you next time. Bye bye.